Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
Wow.
Advise everyone that this meeting is being recorded. Is there anyone else recording in attendance? There being none, if you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now that I've woken everyone up, is there, well, we'll go to special recognitions. Why don't we start with that?
There are two special recognitions. First, I'd like to introduce everyone to Pam Kaufman. She is here this evening. She is our Interim Director of Pupil Services. Pam was in today. She was in a couple of days last week and is getting acclimated to the Auburn Public Schools, so we welcome her as part of our team through the end of this school year. And the other bit of news I just heard, I'm sure people are aware, the girls field hockey team is in the state semifinals, and as of about 2 minutes ago, they were up 4-0 with only 3 minutes left. So,
Excellent.
so we should have some solid news very soon.
Very good. Are there any citizens' concerns or comments? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the regular session minutes for November 4th, 2013.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. We do not have the student representatives report this evening, so we will now move on to Dr. Winnell's report.
Great. So with your permission, I'm going to go down and join the leadership team members. I want to thank all of those in attendance tonight. There are many here who are not presenting tonight, but as has become our practice, this is a team budget that we've put together. So I will head to the podium to get us started. So here to start for the budget kickoff for FY15. Okay, here we go. As you recall, back in early and mid-October, we came, all of us as a leadership team, and presented to you sharing our successes and tackling our challenges. And in these PowerPoint presentations that included our leadership team members, it really highlighted the successes and progress that we've been making across the district due to the collaborative efforts of many. As a team, it remains our priority to create opportunities in which our students can thrive, believing that that is the only way in which they can reach their full potential. As we've done in the past, our budget you will see presented this evening and tomorrow night is focused very much on our core values, the top one being responding to needs based on data. Some of the new positions that you'll hear about tonight and tomorrow night really do just that, respond to needs based on data, all of them focused on students. As we've done since 2008, and I think this is something that we should all be proud of, we have stayed very consistent in what it is that we are trying to do, which is to impact students and their achievement. This budget is a mission-driven budget that focuses on our students and is in keeping with the mission that we have, to educate and prepare students for the challenges and opportunities of a changing world. School committee set priorities back a couple of months ago, and these are very much in keeping with the leadership team priorities that you'll see momentarily. Student safety or school safety is of the utmost importance. We believe in order for our students to be able to work and learn and grow and thrive, they must be in an environment that supports them, both physically safe and emotionally safe as well. The Auburn Middle School project, I know we continue to all be thrilled at the town's overwhelming support of building a new middle school, but also part of that is the renovation of the current middle school, and work continues with the Auburn Public Schools School Building Master Plan team on that. Our goal is to successfully open the new building as well as the refurbished building in the fall of 2015. You also set a priority of class size, and you will see a proposal in here to add a classroom teacher at the elementary level to ensure that we maintain class sizes below 25 students, with maintaining appropriate class sizes at both the middle and high schools. Additionally, student achievement, and this probably could or should have been written first, and it's right up there with student safety. The entire budget that you're going to hear and see over these next 2 nights focuses on student achievement. You'll see proposals that increase the IA and ABA hours to mirror the Students' Day. That allows not only to ensure student safety for those students whose needs require support in that manner, but also to provide more interventions that address any student academic challenges that they may be having. You'll see the addition of a media/iPad integration teacher at Auburn Middle School. We've reported to you previously on the successful pilot program that we have there this year for 8th grade iPads, and we're looking to expand that, and that expansion will be presented later this evening. As well as to support our special education and ELL students. You remember that one of my goals that we had agreed to as a team is to really be sure that we are paying particular attention to our subgroup populations and making sure that we're doing everything we can to best support them in their growth. Technology remains a focus, as it has been for the school committee. This is very much in keeping with the iPad pilot, as well as the district learning team's recommendations that were presented and unanimously accepted by the school committee on November 4th. And in terms of textbooks, to make sure that we have appropriate texts in front of our students that both challenge and support them, not only in terms of their AP classes, but also to look at a review committee regarding elementary mathematics to take place next year. The leadership team priorities, again, that mirror and enhance the school committees is the maintenance of the safe environments, our commitment to continuous improvement, the strategic plan, and always making sure that we are forward-thinking in both our decisions that are focused on students, but also planning for their tomorrow, not necessarily our today or yesterday. To stay focused on our school and district improvement plans and the continued successful implementation of the educator evaluation system. Additionally, we want to be sure to maintain appropriate levels of staff, regardless of the technologies, textbooks, or any materials that we can provide. It is those daily interactions that take place between teachers and support staff and students where there really is the most potential enhancement for students. The appropriate texts and materials and technologies, high-quality job-embedded professional development. This has been a program that has been expanded and really is of the greatest quality that we have here, and really focusing on district priorities, 2 of those being inclusion and co-teaching that we have ongoing, as well as technology integration. And finally, making sure that all of our students have the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their current proficiency level or developmental level. So several assumptions that were made in the development of the 15 budget. As you look through the documents or take them home over the next few days to review through them, we used the October 1 student counts. And we did that purposely because the student counts in every grade level, quite honestly, are moving targets. As students move in or leave the district, it can be a moving number. So we, for consistency's sake, chose the October 1st counts. If you remember last year at this time, the federal sequestration issue was a looming one for us, and we really had very little guidance around it. What ultimately happened this year is we saw about a 10% reduction or thereabouts from last year. So what we've done is we're again being conservative in this. This has really been on a kind of a stay put at this point, but it's not a resolved issue. But we have budgeted, assuming the current fiscal years, with an appropriation of approximately 10% less. Additionally, Medicaid reimbursement, with our funding being anticipated at $124,000. That's the $112 that was approved in the May town meeting, plus the $12 recently approved in the October fall special town meeting. Circuit breaker being reimbursed at 60%. If you remember statutorily, it should be at 75%. But the highest I believe we've ever seen it is at 72%. So indications are that this is probably a reasonable number. As the budget season down at the state level continues to move forward, I anticipate that we may get some more guidance around this. We've also built the budget assuming the same amount of school choice. We currently have 26 at the high school and 15 at Auburn Middle School. And as we've done each year, we've utilized offsets in the revolving accounts, including building rentals, our before and after school programs, as well as our preschool revolving accounts. We did build in a $100 fee for the buses, that being maintained up to a maximum of $250, And you'll see in your budget when you review it later that we've used an offset of approximately $75,000 on that. As we've done each year, as we looked at revolving accounts, school choice, grants, any fees that we collect, it's all done in an effort to minimize the impact of the first draft, and that should read of the FY15 operating budget, I will correct that, of the Auburn Public Schools. So moving forward, following my presentation, in a few more slides, you'll hear from Mr. Gray for central office, Dr. Lozay for teaching, learning, and curriculum, Mr. Campbell for pupil services, Mr. Gray for facilities and operations, and Mr. Bouvier for technology. With tomorrow night being fine arts and athletics, the elementary schools will present, as will the middle school, high school, and finally a budget summation. The town's budget kickoff has not yet been scheduled, but generally that happens sometime in late November or perhaps even early December, and I will apprise you of that once that has been announced. Moving forward, we have 2 meetings in December, the 4th and 18th, as well as a meeting in January 8th, at which we'll put this on the agenda, the 15 budget, where we can ask questions, make decisions, and decide to go forward from there. The draft budget does need to be submitted to Town Manager Jacobson by the second Monday in January, which this year is January 13th. I think as evidenced by the progress that has been shared through those presentations back in October, the APS team, which includes all of us in this room, leadership team, certainly school committee, and our parents at home, that we're committed to continuous improvement into ensuring that our students have the opportunities to achieve at high levels. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And I think we've shown in the Auburn Public Schools that we are committed to excellence in not making it a random act, but something that that really drives our decisions as we go forward. So with your permission, I will turn it over to Mr. Gray to give the central office budget, unless anyone has any questions.
I think we can begin.
Okay. Okay. And I'm just going to stay down here and join the team while he's present.
Thank you very much. Before I start, I just want to make a couple comments, being the newest member of the leadership team. I just wanted to thank everyone involved in the budget process. As you can imagine, starting on a budget process this early in the season really requires a team effort. It's a daunting task to understand the nuances of a previous fiscal year, current fiscal year, and looking forward to fiscal year 15. So I just wanted to publicly thank my business office staff, Mrs. Turcott and Mrs. Moran, who provided me with the data and information that I'm presenting tonight, but in particular to Dr. Brunel, who was a second set of eyes and made sure that I crossed my T's and dotted my I's, as well as the whole leadership team who kept me in check. So I feel very confident this is a well-developed budget, and I just wanted to publicly thank them, being my first year, and hopefully as the years go by, I will become more of an asset as opposed to asking tons of questions. So based on that, some of the assumptions that we made in the central office budget was that we continue to belong to the French River Educational Collaborative for contracts. I went to one of the local meetings a few weeks ago. Last year they had anticipated procuring natural gas for neighboring districts. They did not. They found an agent within the area that they're going to do that for, so hopefully we'll be able to see some savings through that. All revolving fund revenues remain at the same level as they were in fiscal year 14. As you know, this early in the season, state funding Chapter 70, we're projecting it to be level, as no discussions have occurred at many levels regarding any potential increases or decreases to educational funding. Our Medicaid reimbursement payments remain level funded. Moreover, the district doesn't anticipate any known changes to billing methodology that could affect reimbursements. We anticipate no reduction in E-rate funding to offset telephone costs. Our special education transportation contract for out-of-district routes remain with the same 3 providers, and we don't anticipate any changes in rates. We have two notable retirements in districts coming up this year that will certainly impact fiscal year 15. Our assistant to the business manager, obviously we're going to do a review and recommend any changes in job responsibilities within new or existing staff, and perhaps do some more collaborative efforts with the town. And our retirement of our food service director will also result in a review and recommended changes to delivery of food services within the district. As you know, USDA regulations are constantly changing, evolving, and refining, and we hope to have someone on board relatively soon that will help us in our quest to continue to provide an outstanding food service program to the district. Within the central office itself, all support cost line items have been level funded. Regarding degree changes, our analysis for next year shows a $41,837 decrease based on those individuals who put in for retirement on October 1st. As you know, this is a contractual obligation per our Educational Association contract. Regular ed transportation, we have the potential of a one-year additional renewal pending negotiations. And obviously, if the middle school comes online, as we hope, in fiscal year 15, we will go out with a request for proposal so that we're able to basically look at all the routes through all the schools, since there'll be a number of changes to the way the routes are currently being provided. Our other contractual obligations are a $27,677 increase. That was given to the fact that there are a number of contracts to be settled. Our administrators, our paraprofessionals, and our secretaries and our custodians are all due to be discussed with their contracts. And that's basically the simple and most direct approach to the central office. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Liz?
So, in the past, and I don't know who's the best to answer this, but state funding for Chapter 70, do we usually level fund it, or do we usually go more to the conservative side and decrease it a bit?
We actually don't generally reflect any change for Chapter 70 at this point here. What Mr. Gray had referenced is that we're just assuming a level funded, but we never have that information at this point, quite honestly, in the budget.
So we usually put in as level funded?
We do. We
Okay.
anticipate it being level funded, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, this just is making me a little bit concerned, the degree changes. We're having a decrease of $41,837. How many, is that mostly because it's set off by retirements, or is it because we don't have many people who are going for degree changes?
It actually, I could pull the number directly from the budget. What teachers need to do per the AEA contract is notify us by October 1st, this past October, if they're anticipating a degree change by August 1st of 14, excuse me. Based on, so this is not, whatever the number was last year, say it was 150,000, we're anticipating that instead, so 41 less would be about $109,000 this year. It's based on wherever they are in their process for schooling. I will tell you, we had a number of staff within this current school year, we're seeing it, as well as last year, who earned master's degrees that had been in the program.
Okay, so you see that going forward?
I do see that going forward, and I can tell you I've not seen any decrease in the number of courses that our teachers are participating in. They are very much focused on moving forward. I think some of it's just the timing of when they'll actually have an adjusted degree.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to present the Teaching, Learning, and Curriculum budget for FY15. Teaching, Learning, and Curriculum, as you all know, are the core components of all the work that we do. Affecting one of those areas, I wanted to be fancy and use this, but I don't think it's going to work. Affecting one of those areas also affects each of the others, because they're integrally related. And I think as you see our presentations tonight and tomorrow night, you will see that throughout. And by keeping our focus on all of those as our core, we'll be able to provide success to all of our students. Tonight I plan to briefly review the work that we are currently engaged in through the support of the FY14 budget, and then outline for you the proposed work for FY15. In terms of teaching and learning for FY14, we supported this first and foremost by maintaining a high standard for all our students. As you heard in our October presentations, we continue to refine our response to intervention model, where we're providing intervention blocks in our schools to target the needs of our students based on data. We were also fortunate enough this past summer to train over 20 staff in pre-AP strategies and AP strategies as well, in order to bring more rigor and critical thinking into our curriculum. We presently have an initiative around inclusion and co-teaching, which we've spoken to you in the past, and this is year 2 of that initiative, and it is going well. We were fortunate enough to increase our math coach, K-8, from a 60% position to a 100% position, and she's now available in all the elementary schools as well as the middle school. We continue to have our math paraprofessionals at every elementary school, and we have begun the retail initiative that I spoke to you about last year, which is a state mandate. We have our first cohort of approximately 26 teachers about halfway through their Sheltered English Immersion course. In terms of moving forward for FY15, again, we will maintain our focus on high standards for all. We'll continue with our retail initiative, roll out a second cohort of teachers that will be trained in Sheltered English Immersion, as well as providing some training to our staffs around the WIDA standards and how those can work with the Common Core state standards. We will be looking to add additional ELO tutors at the elementary level. This will help us align with the state's guidelines concerning the amount of time that our level 1 and level 2 ELO students need to have ESL instruction. We continue to support math paraprofessionals at each of the elementary schools. We will continue with our math coaches. We will look to expand the roles of a few teachers around co-teaching and keys to literacy, which will mean that we will need to support them in terms of their time and some additional professional development. In terms of curriculum, through the FY14 budget, we've spent a lot of time creating the Everyday Math and Common Core State Standards math pacing guides. We have our teachers work through the summer and after school to create a lot of that. We also are continuing to look at a math textbook adoption at the Auburn Middle School, and that will be supported with FY14 funds. We are looking at critical reading and writing across all the curriculum areas. We recently had some professional development at the high school around reading and annotating dense text, and that was very successful, and we continue with that. We're giving teachers time to create common assessments. We're working on STEM. As we reported to you earlier, there was a lot of summer curriculum work around phonics, writing, and the report cards. And the laying the foundation lessons, which come out of the pre-AP work that we're doing, those are being implemented at grades 6 to 12. And we also will begin our science curriculum alignment to the new standards once they are officially adopted. Going forward, for FY15, in terms of curriculum, we plan to adopt a new math series in K through 5 next year, so we will begin that adoption process or committee to look at these this year. We want to expand pre-AP lessons to grade 5, and that will also need to be supported through time and professional development. We continue our focus on expanding our AP programs. We want to continue our summer curriculum work and the opportunity for teachers to submit proposals on work that they want to do. We will expand our STEM initiatives, and we have a meeting coming up next week with WPI to see how they can support us in some of that. And we also will need to align some of our materials with WIDA and also purchase some additional English as second language curriculum materials. Professional development, as Dr. Brunel spoke to, continues to be a top priority within the district. I think we all agree that it's come an awful long way. A few of these we've already spoken to you about, but I'll highlight a few. The educator evaluation continues to be a big focus for us. We are working a lot around creating the district determined measures, and going forward that will continue, as well as looking at surveys that will be for parents as well as teachers filling them out in regards to the leadership. We will continue next year, and we have going this year our co-teaching initiative, the Keys to Literacy. We've done several of their modules. Pre-AP and AP, we want to expand that, though we have some math, ELA, and science people. We also would like to expand that down to fifth grade teachers being trained in all of that, and then obviously, hopefully, having them become coaches to train others. Technology is always a big focus of our professional development, especially in terms of the one-on-one initiative that we're discussing. We like to use our district experts. We need to give them time to plan some of those presentations. Of course, we never forget about anti-bullying, the social skills, data use, and all of our mandated trainings around A and V and CPR. Going forward, you'll see that a lot of these are similar, because we want to be sure to be able to embed these into our curriculum solidly so that we can sustain them. It usually takes 3 to 5 years for change, and a lot of our initiatives will cross that amount of time. So we will be continuing with the co-teaching initiative. We will need some professional development around the new math textbooks that we adopt. We will continue with pre-AP and AP. Technology will just continue to grow. Another area that we will begin to look at more closely is early literacy. We've begun some work around that, but we'd like to expand that. Again, we'll continue to use our district experts in any way that we can. And the district determined measures and survey data related to the educator eval tool will continue. WIDA will be rolled out a little more explicitly to our staffs. We'll have a second group that will be going through the sheltered English immersion training. Our math coaching, we will extend K through 12, where it's presently more focused K to 8. We'll continue with some STEM work, anti-bullying, and again, those mandated trainings. Now, having said all that, here are some figures for you. So for FY 2015, we have director supplies of 1,000, director's professional development, 1,500, director's publications, 300, director's dues, 850, system-wide classroom supplies, 10,000, system-wide professional development, 125,000, supplies for system-wide professional development, 5,000, system-wide substitute staff for the professional development, we bumped that up to 20,000, and our textbook system-wide is 220,000. That will include the new adoption at the elementary level for math, but also include any new textbooks bought at the high school as well as the middle school. In terms of the English Language Learners program, you can see here reflected an increase in the tutors, so that in 2015 we'll have 118,678 for 5 tutors. Translations has gone down a bit to 3,000. Teaching supplies has gone up to 10,000 because we will need to purchase a curriculum. And the staff travel, with our staff traveling, we may have to, if we do not get approval for the additional ELL tutors, we need to ensure that there's some money to cover their travel costs between schools. And I end with this quote because I think it speaks to our past as well as our present. 6 years ago, I used this quote actually during my interview because at that time I felt that we were a district that was constantly changing directions. We would start an initiative, but we would never let that initiative take hold before we moved on to another. I think presently we can see through these slides that seem somewhat redundant, and through the presentations you'll see over the next 2 nights, that we are really truly sticking to things and making those roots grow. And I think we're all in agreement that we are headed towards excellence. So I thank you as well for your support along with that journey.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Well, you guys don't have any questions.
We're just starting the process.
I have 2 questions, but they may be questions that will be answered in other presentations. So if they are, please just tell me that they will be and we can move on so you don't have to repeat yourself twice. Adoption of the new math series, K to 5.
Yep.
Does that mean that we're moving away from the everyday math, or we? You knew I had to be asking this question,
Yes,
right?
which is fine. So what I'll say is that we will look at a variety of texts that are out there. We will see how they're aligned to the Common Core. We will see what additional resources they give us in terms of those subgroups that we've been speaking about, really focusing on. And then at the end of the day, we'll make a recommendation to the superintendent to which we would like to adopt. Everyday Math does have a new series
Okay.
that they claim is aligned to the Common Core state standard. It will be one that we look at.
So you're just evaluating that process now? You don't have anything in mind
No.
quite yet? Okay. And then, could you just explain, if in fact it's not going to be explained later, the expansion of the pre-AP lessons to grade 5?
Sure. So we trained our teachers 6 through 12 in pre-AP strategies. We'd also like to train some fifth grade teachers. We're presently with the math coach, who's very familiar with those strategies. She's trying to go down and model some of those lessons for the teachers. I know at the fifth grade, at Packagug, for instance, they're doing a whole unit around fractions. Those lessons are very hands-on, and they get at the much deeper level of the concept with the kids. So what we're gonna do is try to support those teachers to find ways to implement them in the units as they go forward with the math. So they'll need time to plan those and pick out the ones that actually align well.
Okay, thanks, that's all I have.
Yes, sir.
Since Mrs. Gribbins is in no hurry, I'll ask a few questions. Regarding the retail training, how often will a new class begin? You said we have 24 teachers in
Presently
now.
have approximately 24, 26 students. That will take a full year for that course. And the administrators will start a course in the spring. Next year, we'll submit another schedule to the state. Whether it is 2 part-time courses or 1 full-time course will depend on, the schedule of the facilitators that we have. We're fortunate enough to have someone trained in our district to do that. So it really depends on the schedule of her availability.
How long will it be before everyone is trained?
We have 3 years to do that, to train everybody, and that's our intention, to make sure that that happens.
Okay, and my second question is concerning the ELL curriculum materials and the increase of the $7,000. What exactly is the $7,000 for? Is it textbooks? Is it online materials?
It could be a combination of both. We're presently getting some samples from different publishers that we're looking at. Some are textbooks, some are workbooks, some are online pieces. So we'll look at all of that. We'll look at the WIDA standards, and then we'll see which we can get that most effectively integrate with our curriculum.
But you're pretty confident that $7,000 in addition is going to be enough?
I think so to begin.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
All set for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks you.
So Ms. Donahue has come in to confirm the girls did win by a score of
4-0.
Full-
We'll be playing in state finals Saturday at 10 a.m.
state final Saturday at 10 a.m. So that's great.
That was going to be my question. We were done with the presentations.
I knew that was going to be anticipated, so I asked the superintendent, since I saw the vice principal come in, I figured she had news, and somehow when she got to the door and went like this, I figured it was only going to be good. So, well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. I'm Philip Campbell to present the Pupil Services budget. The Pupil Services Department has continued to reduce costs as a result of the excellent work that's being performed in the Auburn schools as part of our commitment to inclusion, which has been mentioned a number of times, for special ed students when appropriate. An additional area of concentration has led to the reduction in costs and an improvement in the education of Auburn students has been in the return or reconfiguration of support to students placed in out-of-district programs and locations. Because of the ongoing discussions in Washington, D.C., we have continued to project federal grant amounts conservatively, as the superintendent mentioned earlier, until further information is available. The requested budget contains one additional in-town special education bus to relieve the difficulty of drop-off and pickup times being met. Sometimes that's very difficult, either because of traffic or because of dropping kids off between one school and another school and the very close arrival and dismissal times. So through discussions with the business office and the superintendent, that additional monies has been put in here as a budget request. The budget request has a reduction in non-public school transportation, so that's the other part of transportation that will be changing, because of the reduced number of students requiring that support. Over the course of the last 2+ years, we've had very few students go to out-of-district placements. We've had a number of students who have returned from out-of-district placements. We've also had a number who have aged out. So all of that net effect is enabling us to build a budget with a reduction in the non-public school transportation. Starting in fiscal 13, a summer internship program was begun with the support of the superintendent, the leadership team, and the school committee, providing an inclusive real job opportunity for 6 students. In this past summer, that was successfully expanded to 9 students. This represented a very integrated program. Some of the kids did have IEPs and some of the students did not. The request is built into the budget again this year to continue that, and it will be up to the superintendent and others to decide whether or not it ends up being, if it's maintained in the budget, somewhere between 6 and 9 students. I'd also like to just highlight both the facilities and the IT department were both very helpful, if not essential, in hosting students along with the special ed department. So those three departments all hosted students to work in that summer jobs program. I've already had students in the high school, by the way, stop me and ask me about next year. And I told them they should talk to the superintendent or to the school committee. But I also told them that my presentations here in the past, I think, if I'm not speaking too out of turn, you were very supportive of the program, and I know that the superintendent has been. So I'm hopeful, if not confident, that it will continue. One other thing I'll just say about that is it wasn't just a jobs program. It also really was part of a transitional support system for those students. What I mean by that is every single week I actually facilitated a group meeting with all 9 of the students, or the previous year all 6, to talk about what were they learning about themselves. What was it like to become a member of a work team? What was it like to take instructions from a boss, not just say a coach on an athletic field or a teacher by getting an instruction? So how do you get along with coworkers? All of those things were an integral part of a weekly discussion session that I facilitated with them. So I think it did more than just put money in their pockets, although that was an important part of it. And lastly, I want to thank the superintendent, the school committee, for the opportunity to serve the district. As you know, I've handed in my resignation, and I believe that the progress that's been made is due to the strong commitment to inclusion and the efforts to develop in-district options based on excellent faculty, building and district administrators, plus a strong relationship between the school committee and the town of Auburn, and that this partnership has benefited the students. So now for some of the details of the budget. I'll only read the fiscal 15 requests. For the district-wide positions, it's being maintained in the same level of positions. There are 14 FTEs, or full-time equivalency. The budget, because of contractual relationships, is proposed to go up to $1,018,073. The substitute line item is proposed to be at $18,000 for the next year. Special ed supplies and services, homebound support will be maintained at $10,000. Contracted services is again at the same level of $273,391. Classroom supplies at $15,000. The special ed in-district transportation, which I've already referenced once, is being proposed to go up to $280,000. And the non-public so the transportation to the private out-of-district placements is proposed to go down, and that would be at $320,000. Special ed tuitions for fiscal 15 have been pegged for the tuition to public schools. There's a publicly operated program over in Oxford that we have periodically enrolled students in. So the projection for next year would be for $27,900 for that. Tuitions for non-public schools would go down slightly to $1.1356 million, so $1,135,600. And tuitions to the collaborative is currently being projected at $200,000. A number of these costs would be offset by Medicaid or a combination of Medicaid and circuit breaker, or being offset to the operating budget by grants. again, being added in a very conservative manner, given the uncertainties of what will be decided in Washington, D.C. So for the school year fiscal 15, the total requested budget is $2,266,891, but given the offsets, the net of that is $1,136,032, and the total program costs for fiscal 15 are projected netting at $3,284,764, with the net cost of being $2,119,422. So again, I'd like to thank you and to ask if there are any questions.
Yes. I have one question, just concerning the substitute budget from 12,000 to 18,000. Can you just elaborate on that? Why the $6,000 increase?
That's based upon our pattern of expenses, and that's also actually one of the places where we draw money within the grant to help pay for the summer intern program, because they're substituting for people who would otherwise be on vacations. The summer intern program has been a combination of Medicaid dollars that are reimbursed through the town to the district to pay for the cost of the special ed students, and for the non-special ed students, we've actually used monies from the 240 grant, which is acceptable because the federal government expects you to use up to 15% of the grant for non-special ed students as a way of either preventing or providing inclusion and integration.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Gray is going to, Mr. Gray is going to present for Mr. Fahey. And if there are any specific questions, maybe we could hold those for Mr. Fahey until our December meeting, and we can ask him to come.
Seems reasonable.
I didn't do anything. Just the magic. So as a last-second replacement for Mr. Fahey, I'm sure he would say thank you very much for your continued support. And this is an overview of his presentation for fiscal year 15. As you know, the goals of the Facilities Operation and Maintenance Department are to support education of students through a safe and healthy environment. Considering many of the issues that have occurred throughout the United States, this is a couple of the new security measures we've taken with new viewing windows at Packagug Middle School. It also provides regular preventive maintenance and capital improvements at all schools. This is a couple pictures showing the before and after stairwell at Packagug, as well as the heating upgrade at the middle school. And also the goals of Facilities and Operation and Maintenance are to improve the district. This is the Applied Academics room at the middle school. I was involved with that this summer with Mr. Fahey. I can tell you that he did an excellent job at securing what turned out to be an excellent renovation of this room. We talked at length about whether or not we should use prefabricated room dividers, and in fact he was able to secure the work of some of his custodians as well as some of the professionals in the area, and provided these very excellent room upgrades within the middle school at reduced cost and much superior quality. So. In addition to that, as you know, we went out to bid and we resurfaced the track at the high school, and we also are very proud and pleased to have the new press box at the high school football field. Some of the accomplishments of the Facilities Department, we'll go back, include working with the principals on a daily, sometimes weekend, sometimes nights basis to ensure that we have preventive maintenance and repair of all our buildings. Working with our IT department regarding supporting new technologies. As I mentioned before, we have resurfaced the track at the high school. We're in the process for continuing to upgrade lighting at all the schools, and we've certainly done quite a bit of efforts at upgrading security at Packagug, Mary D. Stone in the middle school. The next several slides are a recap of the budget that Mr. Fahey oversees at each of the different schools. I will tell you that myself, Mr. Fahey, and Mrs. Moran in the business office did a 5-year historical analysis, and so you may see some of the adjustments to some of our utilities. It's because we went back and we looked at what we had historically used in the past, what we were projecting to use this year, and then from that, we produced the budgets for most of the schools here. Currently, right now, we're projecting, I think we're paying $3.14 a gallon for fuel oil. We conservatively put in the budget this year $3.75. I think we'd prefer to have some additional funds in that line item if, in fact, current gas prices continue as they are, oil prices. But at the same time, I know that in my past, and I'm sure in Mr. Fahey's past, that if you put together an oil budget that's current market rate, sometimes you can get trapped and find yourself in an extreme deficit. So at this point, that's what those prices reflect in each of these budget line items. And as Dr. Brunel recommended, that Mr. Fahey will be gladly come back in December. I'm sure that, I hope he's at home, or at least he's watching this on TV to know that the intense pressure he's put on me tonight and came up with an excuse not to be here, but I hope he's doing well. And I can tell you that even last Friday at the 11th hour, he remembered that we just put a new telephone in the elevator at Bryn Mawr. So he has spent numerous and countless hours going through this budget to make sure it reflects what our needs are at each of the different buildings that he oversees. So I'd be glad to take any questions and give them to him when I see him next, or if not, I certainly, I'm sure that Mr. Fahey appreciates your support and be glad to answer them at the December meeting.
You mean you're not going to answer them?
I can answer them, but you can only take them at face value. If he comes back and refutes that in December, then I have no idea what I was talking about.
I think it gives the committee some time too to go over the different numbers that are being proposed and projected. And if we do have any questions, we can address it with him on December 4th.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
One item I do just want to point out to you that is new this year is $20,000 that we've put into building security. If you remember, in the past, anytime we had to do some security upgrades, we were coming to you and requesting transfers. So we think it is wise to actually create a line that we can pull from if any security upgrades are needed.
Ironic when you're up there, isn't it?
Yeah, technology director having technology problems.
It's coming.
It's usually Kathy that gets in the middle of that one.
There we go. Okay, good evening. I promise this will be brief. We seem to be rolling at a very good pace this evening. So, I'm happy to present the FY 2015 technology budget. Much of this is the same as what we generally do year after year. However, we have a significant increase this year due to something that we talked about last week at the November 4th meeting. So our technology department goals: technology must support teaching and learning. It's the core of what we do. It's why we bring technology into this wonderful district. It's not so that we can have the best toys or the most up-to-date technology. It's so that we can provide a better education for our students. And the technology department does believe that, and everything we do is geared towards helping teaching and learning. We must support our students to become 21st century learners. We spent a lot of time on November 4th talking about the 21st century skills that our students need to compete. We do believe that they are important, and we do believe that we need to stay abreast of technology in order to provide those skills. It must be available to all students and all staff all of the time. We do our best to keep things running as much as possible. Things do occur from time to time, and we go with the flow there, but we work very hard to make sure that our technology is available all the time. And we are starting to expand the all of the time to at home with the one-to-one program, so we're excited about that. Technology must be focused on supporting our teachers and staff. We are fortunate this year to have another person working part-time with our department to help support our staff. It's going well. And every year we seem to add new layers of support challenges. This year it's increased use of the iPads, but we're excited by the challenge we faced this year, and we're looking forward to continuing that program. And technology should make our processes easier and more effective. And truly, that's what we're gearing for. We're not trying to add a layer of complexity to anything that we do. We're trying to make sure that we work better and more effectively. So as we move forward with the technology budget, we looked at these 3 goals. The one-to-one program at the 8th and 9th grades that was approved at the November 4th meeting was at the core of what we're doing. Increasing the stability and speed of the district internet connection is vitally important for us. We cannot have enough internet bandwidth nowadays. It is getting soaked into the ground like water, it seems like. Everything that we do, everything that we layer on top of our network now utilizes our internet. It's as much of a commodity for the district and as important as the oil, the electricity, the water. And we need to make sure that we are keeping up to speed with our internet and maintain our support contracts for integral software and services. We have a growing list of software and services that we have to support. Every year it seems to grow as we bring in new products, new services, new pieces of equipment that require maintenance contracts or software update assurances. All of that now falls under my budget. We've been centralizing that in through my budget for the last few years. So as we look at what's in the budget this year, you're going to see, I hope you'd see, a significant increase in the director's computer supplies. And I'll explain that in a little bit. And there's the computer maintenance contracted line decreased a little, and the computer software contracted line increased. And I will explain all of that. Director's computer supplies, a significant increase. And that's because this year it includes the lease for the 375 iPads for the 8th and 9th grade one-to-one program. So right off the bat, there's a $72,000 addition to that particular line. Now, I realize the title is a little misleading. It's not necessarily a computer supply, but it's been the line that we've captured in the past for all technology equipment. So the $72,000 for the year one of the lease is there. The next line that is significant is a $29,000 line for keyboards, and it should say iPad covers. Cases and Bluetooth keyboards for existing iPads and new iPads. So right now I'm capturing covers for the entirety of the 375 iPads. At the last meeting, we mentioned the possibility that we would allow students to purchase covers in order to personalize their experience with the device. However, that has not been something that we've finalized yet, and so until we do, we're going to carry the number so that we can be sure that we're protecting our investment. And the Bluetooth keyboards are important because they're required in order to use the devices with Park. So we have some of that that's coming through with the town article that was passed at the last town meeting. However, the other buildings that are taking part, the middle and high school, don't have Bluetooth keyboards. Those are going to be need to be purchased. So those are included here. So it's a little bit high, but hopefully it'll come down if we decide to allow the students to purchase their own covers. But in the end, it's vitally important that we protect our investment in those devices. So we're going to carry it. And then after that, we include funds for just generic computer supplies, things that pop up from day to day. We need cables, we need desktop switches, we need speakers, mice, keyboards, any of that types of stuff. That falls out under here. Computer maintenance contracted. This covers service contracts on physical equipment. And it gets a little confusing, the 2 line items that I'm talking about next. This one we really look at, we have a piece of equipment, we have a firewall in our network closet. That requires a service contract to keep it updated and to keep it to keep the content filtering up. So if it's something that's tied to a physical device, it falls under this particular line item. And this line item also includes our internet connection, which we're proposing we move up to 150 by 150 megabyte fiber internet connection next year. We're currently 100 meg cable internet connection, and we are fighting every day to keep every bit of that internet usable to our staff. It's amazing how much internet the kids can use, and how much, if you give to them, they'll just continue to use, and how they find innovative ways to find the bandwidth you're trying to stop them from using. So there's a lot of problem solving going on at the high school and middle school related to finding internet bandwidth. So it's a lot of money to pay for internet, but it's essential. And you should also know that the $2,500 per month is pre-E-rate, that we do apply for E-rate on this. We generally get it. Now, we always get it, but we always budget the full amount just on the off chance that something happens at Washington DC, and it's what the USAC group, the group that manages the E-rate, suggests, is that you budget the full amount, but we can expect that that's going to be offset by about 42-43%, depending on the amount of students that we have eligible for free and reduced lunch. So it's a significant jump, but we can't do business without the internet anymore. And then we have contracted services for software, which is online software that we, or educational software that we purchase. And if we didn't purchase the software, we wouldn't have it. So this number continues to rise every year as we continue to find more and more equipment that, and more services that we need to bring into our district. These may be reading programs like Lexia or Read Naturally, which we use. They may be licenses for our mobile device management software, which is what we use to manage the iPads. I know there were a lot of questions on November 4th about how we could control the usage of the iPads and know what students were doing on them. That software falls under this line, the software that allows us to do it, as well as the mobile internet filter, which allows us to ensure that our students are safe on the internet, even when they're out of district. So there's a lot of software that comes into here, and our software numbers continue to increase year after year. I think it's important to say, though, that we have looked critically at our software lines in the past, and we have decreased them where we feel we can decrease them. We look at data annually to see how our software is being used, and if the usage patterns don't align with what we feel we are paying for it, we have either removed the software or decreased it to align more in line with what we think we should be seeing. So software is where it's at nowadays. It continues to increase. I'd like to thank you for your support as always. Can't do it with your support. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
There's always
I do
one.
have a question.
Sure.
Sorry, it's gonna add another 10 minutes to the meeting.
That's all right.
Can you, and I asked this question with full support, I just want a little bit more detail. Your professional development, can you talk a little bit about that, and what kind of professional development did you do this past year, and what do you anticipate doing next year?
A lot of the professional development that I do is conference-based. There's a significant amount of conferences that are that I go to. MassQ, there's several that are nationally based, but happen in Massachusetts as well.
Right.
And then there's a lot of free professional development that occurs through my professional organization, which is the Massachusetts Educational Technology Administrators Association, which are done in workshop-based type settings. So that's primarily what we do. I know this year, through some grants, we're looking to increase some more technical professional development, which is an area that we tend to not do on a regular basis. But we have some grants that we've been able to secure that will help us increase those numbers as well.
Okay, and without putting you on the spot, I'll put Dr. Brunel on the spot. Was there more money that was asked for this, more than the 1,500, or was that a
Oh, I can answer
firm-
that.
Well, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, that's not.
That's actually contractual in all of the administrators' contracts.
Okay, so that seems to be
I can tell you.
enough money, I mean, based on what you do and how important this is to the district, I want to make sure that you're up to date.
I can tell you that I never feel that I don't have the support, that if I have to go above that, I feel that the district's there to support me. So it's not a concern for me. I feel well supported.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
Through the chair, who is our internet provider? Is it
Right.
Charter?
Right now, it's Charter through MEC, but we are going to be putting an RFP out. We drafted that, so I don't know who it'll be next year. I could make a best guess, but I don't think I should be doing that at this, at this time.
Now, we're affiliated with Charter through the cable committee, correct?
Mhm.
We don't have any pull with them, as we agree to have them in town, no?
No, that would have to be negotiated, I would assume, through the charter, or through the cable group, and Charter's been reluctant to do that. They make a good deal of money through us. There used to be a time where they would provide a free connection to schools, but even that, they stipulated was a single computer. They would pull it to a single computer so that they could show off Charter, but you could not tie that into your network. That was not something that they would allow to happen.
I assumed you'd done your homework on that, I was just curious.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options in Auburn. There's Charter and there's, right, you know, I mean, there's really nothing you can do. So, unfortunately, you're kind of stuck there.
Thank you.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got something coming up? Yeah.
So that actually concludes our presentations for this evening. Just to remind you, tomorrow night, Mr. Pietrilla will be here regarding the fine arts budget, Mr. Garno for physical education, health, and athletics, the elementary principals, as well as the middle school and high school principal, and then including a budget summation. So I know that you've just gotten your books tonight. We will have answer, as we did tonight, any questions that you have tomorrow night, and then again on December 4th and 18th. Unless you have any other questions for me.
Make a comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to make the comment that this is always a terrible time of year for me, because I never feel like we have enough money. And so if we do ask questions, and we all will be asking questions as the process goes along, but I think I can speak for the other members of the committee that we're very supportive of all of what you're doing and trying to do, and unfortunately, we don't have an endless amount of money, but thank you so much for all the work that you've done, and I look forward to the process, as grueling as it may be.
And I do want to thank you, Mrs. Gribbins, for that, and also to share, Mr. Scobie, to your question that you asked last Monday. Mr. Bouvier has put together a proposal in terms of long-range costs when we move up this iPad one-to-one implementation. Because I was at the conference last week, Wednesday through Friday, we really just haven't had enough time to fine-tune that. So it'll likely be at one of the first December meetings that we'll bring that proposal to you. But I think that, based on our initial estimates, that you'll be, all of you will be pleasantly surprised that I think there is a way for us to fund this. Because what we don't want to do is start a program and then not have it be able to be sustained. So our goal is to make sure that it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if there's nothing else, I believe we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
And I will do that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
It is voted. Good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.